The Raven drifted through the asteroid belt, engine silent, running on minimal power. Fiona Nash sat in the pilot's chair, her dark hair pulled back in a practical knot, eyes fixed on the radiation scanner. Bounty hunting wasn't glamorous work, but it paid enough to keep her ship fueled and her past at a comfortable distance. A soft ping from her neural implant interrupted her thoughts. Her pupils dilated as unfamiliar code scrolled across her retinal display. She blinked twice, trying to dismiss it as a glitch, but the sequence continued, distinctive, purposeful. Origin point? She asked the ship's AI. Unknown, came the hollow response. Signal uses military-grade encryption. Proxima Sector protocols. Fiona's breath caught. Proxima Sector meant Earth Coalition forces. The people who had declared her unfit for service after the disaster on Helios. The people who had buried the truth about what happened to her unit. But this wasn't standard military communication. This was something else entirely. Something that made her fingers tremble as she enhanced the signal. Decode, she ordered, her voice barely above a whisper. The symbols rearranged, forming coordinates and a simple message. Still alive. Need extraction. Trust no one. It was signed with a designation she hadn't seen in 2 years. TV-722, Tarak Voss, her former partner. The Nilarian scout who had supposedly died in the ambush that destroyed her military career. This is impossible, she muttered, reaching for the half-empty bottle of synthetic whiskey beside her console. He's dead. I saw the reports. The blue-skinned. Nilarian had been her unlikely ally in a border war that had consumed a dozen star systems. His species, with their violet eyes and natural affinity for stealth operations, had been branded as monsters by coalition propaganda. But Tarak had been different, thoughtful, principled, questioning orders that didn't make sense until Helios, till the operation that had gone catastrophically wrong, leaving her unit decimated and her reputation in tatters. The official report claimed no survivors among the enemy forces. Tarak had been listed as confirmed killed in action. Probability of signal authenticity? She asked, taking a long swallow of whiskey. 73%, the AI responded. Encryption key matches known Nilarian military protocols from the Helios conflict period. Fiona closed her eyes. Memories. Surfaced unbidden, the dry heat of Helios, the crack of gunfire. Her commanding officer's body disintegrating before her eyes. The moment when she'd looked up through the smoke and seen Tarak on the ridge, sniper rifle in hand, violet eyes, meeting hers across the battlefield. He hadn't taken the shot. She'd always wondered why. The coordinates pointed to Horizon 7, a decommissioned research station in neutral space, officially destroyed in a reactor meltdown, another casualty of the endless skirmishes between the Coalition and the Nilarian. Conclave. Calculate jump requirements, she said, setting down the whiskey bottle with newfound steadiness. Destination requires passing through 3 Coalition checkpoints, the AI warned. Your identification codes are still flagged. Plot. An alternative route. Use the Kelderon smuggling corridors if necessary. Fiona moved to her weapons locker, methodically checking her pulse rifle and sidearm. Each weapon had been modified, stripped of military identifiers, customized for efficiency, just like her ship, just like her life since the discharge. She paused. At the small compartment beneath her bunk, hesitating before entering the unlock sequence. Inside lay 5 identification chips, one for each member of her unit who didn't make it off Helios. She'd kept them as a reminder, a penance. You better be alive, Tarak, she whispered, securing the compartment. And this better not be a trap. The Raven's engines hummed to life as Fiona plotted their course toward Horizon 7, toward answers she'd spent 2 years drinking to forget, toward the ghost who might hold the truth about everything she'd lost. Whatever awaited her at those coordinates, she was done running from her past. It was time to face it head-on. Horizon 7 materialized before Fiona, like a skeleton once magnificent, now stripped of purpose. The research station's solar arrays hung at odd angles, debris forming a slow-motion halo around its central module. Only emergency systems still functioned, casting a sickly red glow across the structure's exterior. Life support status, Fiona asked, maneuvering the Raven toward what remained of the main docking bay. Minimal, replied her AI. Oxygen levels at 30%. Temperature critically low. Fiona guided her ship into the damaged bay, wincing at the screech of metal as the docking clamps engaged. She sealed her combat suit, checked her oxygen reserves, and secured her weapons. The station might still have atmosphere, but after what happened on Helios, she took no chances. The airlock cycled open with a reluctant hiss. Fiona stepped into darkness, her helmet lights cutting through the gloom. Frost had formed on the interior walls, crystallizing the condensation from the station's failing environmental systems. Her boots left prints in the fine dust that covered the floor. TV 722, she broadcast on the encrypted channel from the message. This is Nash. Position only static answered. Fiona advanced cautiously, following the faint life sign readings on her display. The central sector was 2 levels up, accessible only through maintenance shafts now that the main corridors had collapsed. As she climbed, fragments of the station's former purpose became evident: laboratory equipment, specimen containers, data terminals with cracked screens. Horizon 7 had been a xenobiology research facility, studying the physiological adaptations of spacefaring species, at least officially. The central hub doors were sealed. Fiona overrode the emergency lockdown using access codes that technically no longer belonged to her. The chamber beyond was vast once, buzzing with scientific activity. Now a tomb of abandoned research in the center. Illuminated by a single flickering emergency light, lay a blue-skinned figure. Tarek, she whispered, approaching with her weapon raised. The Nalarian's eyes snapped open, brilliant violet even in the dim light. He tried to sit up, wincing in pain. His right leg was badly injured, the specialized implants that enhanced Nalarian mobility clearly malfunctioning. You actually came, he said, his voice hoarse. The distinctive harmonic undertone of Nalarian. Speech sent chills down Fiona's spine. I wasn't certain you would. Fiona lowered her weapon slightly. I thought you were dead. For a while, that was the plan. Tarek attempted a smile, revealing teeth stained with the dark purple of Nalarian blood. But some truths need witnesses. Before she could question him further, an alarm pierced the silence. A computerized voice echoed through the abandoned corridors. Self-destruct sequence initiated. 15 minutes to core breach. Fiona's eyes narrowed behind her visor. You're doing? Tarek struggled to stand, failing on the first attempt. Not me. Station defense protocols. They activate when an explosion rocked the chamber, sending debris flying. Fiona felt sharp pain as a metal shard penetrated her suit at the side. Warning indicators flashed across her display. Suit breach, oxygen leak, medical alert. We need to move, she grunted, pulling Tarek upright. Together, they staggered toward the exit as another explosion tore through the level below. Emergency shuttles, Tarek gasped, guiding her through a maintenance corridor. Lower bay should still be functional. Fiona felt warm blood flowing freely inside her suit, but kept moving. Contact me after all this time. Tarek navigated the collapsing corridors with surprising precision despite his injury. Because you're the only one who might believe me. It's the only one who saw what I saw on Helios. They reached the emergency bay as the station groaned around them. One shuttle remained, its systems dormant, but intact. Tarek accessed the controls, his fingers moving with practiced efficiency. Destination? Laya asked. Applying pressure, to her wound meridian, Tarek replied. The trading moon. We can disappear there. The shuttle engines ignited with a shudder. Through the viewport, Fiona watched as explosions consumed Horizon 7, the research station breaking apart in a spectacular series of detonations. Evidence erased. Secrets buried, or not entirely buried, she thought, glancing at Tarek. The Nalarian had risked everything to contact her. Whatever truth he carried must be worth dying for. As stars replaced the view of the destroyed station, Fiona felt consciousness slipping away. Blood loss and shock were taking their toll. The last thing she saw before darkness claimed her was Tarek moving to her side, his blue hands already preparing emergency medical supplies. Stay with me, Nash. His voice seemed to come from far away. Our story is just beginning. Meridian hung in space like a tarnished coin, its surface pockmarked with unregulated settlements and mining scars. Once an Earth Coalition outpost, the moon had evolved into a haven for those operating beyond the reach of galactic law. The emergency shuttle limped into Meridian's thin atmosphere, system straining after the escape from Horizon 7. Tarak guided it toward a landing pad on the moon's dark side. Away from the main spaceport surveillance, Fiona regained consciousness as they touched down, the impact sending fresh pain through her injured side. Tarak had managed to seal the wound during transit, but infection had already set in. Her vision swam as the Nilarian helped her from the shuttle. 2 kilometers to the settlement, he said, adjusting his arm around her waist. Can you make it? Fiona nodded grimly.
No choice.
They made slow progress across Meridian's barren terrain, each step an exercise in endurance.
Oh.
The moon's dual suns cast elongated shadows across the rocky landscape. The perpetual twilight disorienting after hours in space. The signal, Fiona, managed between labored breaths. Why now? I found something, Tarak replied, his violet eyes scanning the horizon for threats. Evidence about Operation Sunfall, about what really happened on Helios. Sunfall was supposed to be a standard reconnaissance mission, Fiona said. The memory still burned her unit deployed to investigate suspected weapons development, walking straight into an ambush. It was a setup. Tarak's voice hardened. Both sides were manipulated. I've spent 2 years gathering proof. Before Fiona could press further, the sound of approaching vehicles cut through the thin air. Tarak pulled her behind a rock formation, his hand moving to the curved blade at his hip, the traditional weapon of Nilarian scouts. 3 dust-covered transports sped past, heading toward their abandoned shuttle. Scavengers, drawn by Meridian's landing sensors. Nothing stayed unclaimed for long in this lawless territory. The settlement appeared before them. Chaotic sprawl of prefabricated structures and repurposed shipping containers. Narrow alleyways connected crowded marketplaces. All bathed in the glow of holographic advertisements and illegally modified power cells. Tarak guided Fiona through the maze of streets, avoiding the main thoroughfares where Coalition informants might lurk. Her fever was worsening, the makeshift bandage soaked through with blood. I know someone, Tarak muttered, pulling her down a particularly dark passage. An old contact. Owes me a favor. The someone turned out to be a medical technician operating from a converted storage unit. The woman, a former Coalition field surgeon named Petra, took one look at Fiona's wound and ushered them inside. Nilarian and human, traveling together. She remarked, preparing her equipment. Interesting times indeed. As Petra worked on Fiona's injury, Tarak kept watch at the narrow window. We need transport off-world, he said. Something untraceable. Petra's hand stilled momentarily. You're both running from something significant. Not running, Fiona corrected, her voice stronger as painkillers entered her system. Hunting, later. With Fiona's wound properly treated, they sought temporary shelter in an abandoned maintenance alcove. Tarak left briefly to acquire supplies, returning with food, clean clothing, and a small data terminal. This is what I found, he said, activating the device. Images appeared, classified documents, communication logs, tactical overlays of Helios. Operation Sunfall wasn't a reconnaissance mission. It was designed to fail. Your unit was sacrificed to escalate the conflict. Fiona stared at the evidence, recognition dawning. Who? Before Tarak could answer, the maintenance door burst open. 4 armed figures stormed in, weapons trained on them. At their center stood Darius Vex, Meridian's most notorious weapons dealer. Blue Ghost himself, Darius drawled, his cybernetic eye focusing on Tarek and an Earth Coalition officer. My security system flagged both your biometrics. Tarek moved protectively toward Fiona, but Darius raised a hand. I wouldn't. My associates are quite efficient at their jobs. We need passage off-world, Tarek said carefully. We can pay. Darius smiled, revealing platinum-enhanced teeth. Oh, I think you're worth far more than currency. The bounty on an Ilarian scout is substantial. You, he turned to Fiona, have quite the price on your head as well, Lieutenant. Nash, Fiona's blood ran cold. Her discharge had been public, but her location should have been untraceable. Lest you're being tracked, Darius confirmed, gesturing to one of his associates. Military-grade implant. Very sophisticated. As the guards moved to restrain them, Fiona's eyes met Tarak's. In that silent exchange, a plan formed born from years of combat synchronicity that even betrayal couldn't erase. Now, Fiona whispered, and chaos erupted in the small space. The maintenance alcove erupted into violence. Fiona drove her elbow into the nearest guard's throat, while Tarak's blade found the gap in another's body armor. Pain flared through Fiona's freshly treated wound, but adrenaline kept her moving. Darius. Vex retreated behind his remaining guards, drawing a sonic pistol from his jacket. Take them alive, he shouted. Damaged merchandise is still worth something. Tarek moved with the fluid grace of Nilarian combat training, his damaged leg implant, seemingly forgotten in the heat of battle. He reached Darius first, knocking the weapon from his hand and pressing his blade against the dealer's augmented throat. Where is it? Tarek demanded, voice dropping to the harmonic range that humans found deeply unsettling. The archive. One you acquired from the Coalition transport. Understanding dawned in Darius's mismatched eyes. That's what this is about? Ancient history? Location, Tarek pressed, drawing a thin line of blood. Now, storage level, Darius gasped. Vault 3, biometric lock. Fiona secured the remaining guard, her side throbbing with renewed intensity. He's expecting reinforcements. We need. To move, they bound Darius and his guards, taking their communications equipment and weapons. The dealer's final words followed them into the corridor. They'll find you. The tracker and your friend is military grade. Active since Helios. Fiona's eyes widened. Is he right? Have I been compromised this entire time? Later, Tarek urged, guiding her toward a maintenance shaft. Storage level first. They descended into Darius's underground complexa labyrinth of weapons, caches, contraband, and stolen technology. Alarms blared as the dealer's security systems detected their unauthorized movement. Here, Tarek said as they reached a reinforced door marked with Coalition military symbols. Vault 3. Biometric scanner required Darius's eye pattern, but Tarek had anticipated this. From his pocket, he produced a cybernetic lensa, perfect replica of the dealer's augmented eye. You planned this, Fiona realized. You knew he had the archive all along. Tarek didn't deny it. I've been hunting these pieces for 2 years, tracking the evidence across 12 systems. The vault opened to reveal a small military container bearing the insignia of Coalition High Command. Inside lay data crystals, hundreds of them containing classified intelligence from the Nilarian conflict. As they secured the archive, the complex shuddered. Explosions echoed from above. Darius's reinforcements had arrived and weren't being. Subtle exit strategy? Fiona asked, hefting the container. Tarek pointed to a maintenance tunnel. Emergency evacuation route. Leads to the private hangar. They fought their way through the complex, Fiona's condition deteriorating with each encounter. By the time they reached the hangar, her fever had returned with vengeance. The wound reopened in combat, leaked blood through her hastily applied bandages. The hangar contained several vessels, but Tarek moved directly to a sleek Corvette-class ship. Darius's personal transport, he explained, overriding the security. Protocols. Military-grade shields. Stealth capabilities. As they prepared for launch, Fiona slumped against the co-pilot's seat. Her vision blurred, consciousness fading. Tarek worked frantically at the controls, initiating launch sequences while monitoring her deteriorating vitals. "Stay with me, Nash," he urged, the ship rising from the hangar floor as weapons fire peppered its hull. "I didn't cross 12 systems. To lose you now?" The Corvette burst free of Meridian's atmosphere, its engine straining against pursuit craft. Tarak executed a series of evasive maneuvers before activating the stealth systems. "Where to?" Fiona asked weakly, fighting to remain. Conscious Tarak's expression was grimly determined. "Parnith Prime." Fiona's eyes widened despite her condition. "It's deep in Coalition space, heavily guarded, home to the only secure terminal that can decrypt this archive," Tarak replied, setting the coordinates. "The old command bunker, from before the war?" As the Corvette entered hyperspace, Tarak turned his attention to Fiona's wound. The infection had spread, her skin hot to the touch. Without proper medical facilities, her chances were diminishing rapidly. "The tracker," she mumbled, her thoughts fragmented by fever. "Need to remove it?" Tarak hesitated, then nodded. From his equipment, he produced a surgical field generator and extraction tools. "This will hurt," he warned. "Always does," Fiona replied with a ghost of her old humor, as Tarak worked to extract the Coalition tracking device embedded deep in her neural implant. Fiona drifted between consciousness and delirium. In her fever dreams, she was back on Helios, watching her unit fall around her. Only this time, she could see the shadows moving behind the scenes, the architects of the betrayal. She asked suddenly the question that had haunted her for 2 years. "On Helios, you had the shot." Tarak's hand stilled momentarily, "Because I recognized the setup for what it was. And because some chains need to be broken, even when they're all you've ever known." The tiny tracking device came free at last, a bloody speck of advanced technology. Tarak crushed it beneath his boot before returning to treat Fiona's infection. "Rest now," he said, administering the last of their antibiotics. "We reach Parnith Prime in 6 hours. As darkness claimed her, Fiona grasped Tarak's blue hand with surprising strength. "Whatever we find," she whispered, "we finish this together." Parnith Prime hung in space like a jewel, its pristine atmosphere and gleaming orbital platforms belying its military significance. Home to Coalition High Command's archives, the planet represented the heart of Earth's interstellar governance. The stolen Corvette approached on a stealth trajectory, its systems running silent. In the pilot seat, Tarak monitored the sensor arrays for patrol vessels. Beside him, Fiona had regained consciousness, her fever broken but her strength still compromised. "Approach. Vector locked," Tarak announced, guiding the ship toward a rarely used southern continent. "Defense grid blind spot in 3, 2, 1. They slipped through Parnith's security perimeter undetected, the Corvette's stealth systems earning their illicit price tag. Below them stretched vast plains of genetically modified crops, breadbasket for a dozen Coalition worlds. "The bunker coordinates," Fiona said, studying the navigation display. "They're nowhere near any military installation." "That's the point," Tarak replied. "It predates the standardized grid. It's built during the early expansion, before the Nalarian conflict. Off the books." They landed in a remote valley, concealing the Corvette beneath a rocky overhang. Container had been modified for transport, converted into a backpack that Tarak shouldered despite his injured leg. Fiona carried their weapons, moving slowly but with renewed determination. The bunker entrance was hidden within a natural rock formation, its access panel covered by decades of undisturbed vegetation. Tarak cleared it methodically, revealing an antiquated biometric scanner. "Will it still recognize Coalition personnel?" Fiona asked, eyeing the device skeptically. "Only one way to find out." She pressed her palm to the scanner, holding her breath. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a reluctant groan, the hidden door slid open, revealing a darkened passage. The bunker interior was a time capsule equipment and furnishings dating back to the early days of Earth's expansion. Emergency lighting activated as they moved deeper, illuminating rows of data terminals and communication arrays. The central console, Tarak directed, moving toward a sophisticated workstation at the bunker's heart. It's still connected to the secure military network, but invisible. To modern monitoring systems, While Tara connected the archive to the ancient terminal, Fiona explored the bunker. In what had once been the commander's office, she found a desk still cluttered with physical documents, a rarity in their digital age. One photograph caught her attention. A group of military officers, including a younger version of General Warren, her former mentor. "Tarek," she called, her voice tight. "You need to see this." The Nilarian joined her, his violet eyes narrowing at the photograph. The third officer from the left. "That's Nilarian High Command." "Diplomatic mission," Fiona murmured, examining the date stamp. 3 years before the conflict began. A chime from the central console interrupted them. The archive had been successfully integrated, its encryption protocols falling before the specialized decryption algorithms of the bunker systems. What they found exceeded even Tarak's expectations. The archive contained mission directives, classified communications, and operational plans spanning 5 years of the Nilarian conflict. Most damning were the documents related to Operation Sunfall, the mission that had destroyed Fiona's unit and career. "It was orchestrated," she whispered, reading the directive signed by General Warren himself. "A false flag operation. My unit was sent to be slaughtered to provide justification for escalating the conflict." Both sides were manipulated, Tarek added, displaying Nilarian tactical orders that mirrored the coalition's duplicity. "Our leaders wanted the same thing: prolonged conflict to justify military expansion, control of border systems, resource acquisition." Fiona sank into a chair, the weight of betrayal heavier than any physical burden. "We were just pawns." "Pawns with a choice," Tarak corrected, his blue hand resting briefly on her shoulder. "It's like the choice I made on Helios." Systems suddenly activated, proximity warnings flashing across the ancient displays. "Multiple vessels detected," the automated system announced. "Planetary approach vectors consistent with military deployment patterns." Fiona moved to the security monitor. "They found us. But how?" "The bunker," Tarak realized. "Accessing the secure network triggered failsafes we couldn't detect. They had minutes at most before coalition forces would secure the area." Fiona's mind raced through options, dismissing each as quickly as they formed. "We need to broadcast this," she said finally, gesturing to the archive data. "Send it system-wide, to both Coalition and Nilarian networks." Tarak nodded, already working at the communication array. "The bunker has enough power for one transmission burst, strong enough to reach the nearest relay stations." As they prepared the data package, Fiona activated the bunker's defense systems, antiquated but still functional. They wouldn't stop. A determined military force, but they might buy precious minutes. "Package ready," Tarak announced. "Transmission requires dual authentication." Fiona joined him at the console, their hands moving in tandem across the controls. The bunker hummed with power as the communication array charged to maximum capacity. "If we do this," she said quietly, "there's no going back, for either of us." Tarak's violet eyes met hers, his expression solemn. "Some truths demand witnesses, Nash, no matter the cost." Outside, the first transport vessels were landing. Coalition special forces deployed to contain the situation, to bury the truth once more. "Together," Fiona said, her finger hovering over the transmission key. Tarak nodded, his blue hand joining hers. Together. The transmission burst forth, carrying evidence of betrayal and manipulation to every corner of both civilizations' communication networks. Proof that the conflict that had claimed millions of lives had been engineered by those sworn to protect their people. As alarms blared and the bunker sealed itself against intrusion, Fiona turned to Tarak. "What now?" The Nilarian scowled aloud, himself a rare smile. "And we see if the truth really can set anyone free." Outside, coalition forces surrounded the bunker, unaware that their mission had already failed. The secrets they had been sent to protect were already spreading across the stars, as unstoppable as light itself. Within the ancient walls, a human and a Nilarian stood side by side. No longer enemies, no longer pawns. Whatever came next, redemption or reckoning, they would face it together.